In 2021, the U.S. intelligence community released a 9-page assessment detailing over 100 encounters between military pilots and airborne objects they could not readily identify. But reading through that document, you won't find the acronym most associated with these sightings. Instead, the government deliberately classified them under a new term, UAP, or Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena. Back in 1952, the military coined the term unidentified flying object simply as a clinical placeholder. It was applied to any airborne target that didn't match the performance or shape of known aircraft and missiles. It carried zero extraterrestrial implications. Decades of intense media coverage, conspiracy theories, and blockbuster movies gradually warped that dry, bureaucratic acronym into a cultural shorthand for alien spacecraft. To actually understand what is happening in our airspace today, we have to separate the bureaucratic reality of national defense from the modern mythology we built around it. Human beings have always observed strange things in the sky, but before the 20th century, accounts of comets, meteor showers, or atmospheric illusions were typically recorded as supernatural portents, angels, or religious omens. By the 1920s and 30s, the vocabulary for the unknown shifted. Pulp science fiction magazines began illustrating fantastical, high-tech futures. These colorful illustrations planted a specific visual concept into the public consciousness, that highly advanced visitors from space would travel in sleek, metallic, disc-shaped vessels. In June 1947, a civilian pilot named Kenneth Arnold reported seeing a formation of fast, bat-like aircraft near Mount Rainier. He famously told reporters they moved like a saucer would if you skipped it across water. Headline writers rushed the story to print and misinterpreted his description of how the objects flew as a description of how they looked. The phrase flying saucer was born overnight. Within weeks, hundreds of similar reports flooded in. A simple linguistic mistake had ignited a global craze, landing squarely in a society that was already culturally conditioned to look for spaceships. During the early Cold War, investigations like Project Blue Book were driven by immediate national security concerns. Intelligence officials looked for secret Soviet aviation technology that might be testing American defenses. Of over 12,000 global sightings reported to the Air Force over 2 decades, the vast majority quickly filtered into the identified column, leaving a tiny fraction unexplained. Those identified cases were primarily high-altitude weather balloons and ordinary astronomical bodies like bright planets or meteors. Many of these honest misidentifications come down to pareidolia, the human brain's natural psychological tendency to impose recognizable patterns and meaning onto vague or random visual stimuli. But the public largely rejected these mundane explanations. When the Air Force closed its investigations without confirming extraterrestrial contact, enthusiastic believers interpreted the silence as evidence of a massive, coordinated government cover-up. In 1959, the Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung proposed that the flying saucer had become a modern myth. He argued that the sightings were a psychosocial phenomenon, a collective projection of human anxiety brought on by the devastating potential of the atomic age. Between classified military operations hiding their actual aircraft tests and Hollywood pumping out sci-fi thrillers, a feedback loop formed. A routine airspace tracking issue evolved into a resilient piece of modern mythology. Fast forward to the 21st century, and the original tracking problem remains. Modern military pilots, equipped with highly advanced infrared and radar sensors, are genuinely encountering objects they cannot immediately identify. Intelligence officials and aerospace experts propose several reality-based culprits for these recent events. Our air domain is increasingly cluttered with commercial drones, airborne trash, and the surveillance systems deployed by foreign adversaries. An unidentified drone loitering near a nuclear carrier strike group represents a severe, tangible aviation safety hazard and a massive intelligence breach. The reality strips away the paranormal romanticism of the past 70 years. We are now seeing rigorous, transparent scientific initiatives step in to track these anomalies, like NASA's Independent Study Team and Harvard's Galileo Project. However, for these serious academic and government bodies to secure funding, gather accurate data, and avoid immediate public ridicule, they had to completely abandon the heavily burdened term UFO. Unexplained objects do physically exist in our skies. and investigating them is a serious matter of national security. But the enduring 70-year obsession with flying saucers acts as a cultural mirror. It reflects our technological fears, our Cold War paranoia, and our deep, lingering desire to know that we are not alone in the universe.